Back our all-star panel, Bill George, Secretary Gutierrez, and Mayor Morial. But we're going to add a star here, Steve Leisman.
Tyler, so what I've been doing is talking to economists, saying, you know what, let's get beyond this business of complaining about job growth. How do you fix it? A lot of them pointed to taxes. A lot of them pointed to all the rhetoric coming out of the Obama administration about taxes, saying, you know what, either do it or shut up about it, because all the uncertainty really creates the lack of confidence that keeps people from hiring. Another thing that's out there, this is from Ward McCarthy over at Jefferies. Roll over all those tax cuts. Delay the tax cuts on the wealthy for another year. Tax incentives to encourage small business bank lending, and better guidance on what the effects are going to be on health care reform for small business, which, by the way, everybody says you want to get job growth going, get it going at small business.
Have we made hiring too expensive? We've raised the minimum wage. We've now said you're going to have to pay health care as well. I understand the intuitive desire to provide health care, but providing health care costs money. And if you run a business, you've got to know that that person you hire is going to cause enough productivity to pay off what they cost.
There are 107 million reasons why you're wrong, Michelle, on that answer, and that's the number of people working in the private sector. For 107 million employers, for the employers of 107 million people, they feel like the returns are there to having hired and employing those people right now. Also, looking at the productivity numbers, it suggests that the efficiency of the workers and the potential profits are huge right now. Is it harder? Is it more complicated? Is there more uncertainty about hiring?
You're saying
yes.
Because there's still 107 million people employed?
I'm just saying the decision has been made for the vast majority. Remember, the unemployment rate
but
is only 10%.
But you're making it like it's black and white. What about on the margin? We're talking about margins.
Well, that wasn't your question. On the margin, yes, it is more complicated to hire people.
And more expensive.
Yes, there's more uncertainty.
Bill George, jump in here.
Bill
George, jump in here. What would it take to get American business leaders, of whom you are certainly one, and you're on the board of Exxon, you're on the board of Goldman Sachs. What would it take to get American business leaders to feel the mojo again, to feel confident?
Yeah, they're feeling confident about exporting, about building their global businesses, but they're not feeling confident because there's too much uncertainty. We need to stabilize and not just keep raising. Say, here's the deal. Okay, now you can get back to hiring in the U.S. They're hiring. They're hiring in Asia.
Are we taxing ourselves out of business? Is that what we're doing? Are we taxing ourselves out of business?
I think we need to put the incentives on the other side. I really do. I think on the investment side, because they will invest. If you give them the incentive, they will invest, and we have to do, and we have to invest in innovation. I think the idea of small business loans at low interest rates that the mayor had is a very good idea. But we cannot get there by trying to drive consumer spending, because people without jobs are not going to spend.
Amen.
And we're just doing it too much on the short term.
Secretary Gutierrez, we could we could cut taxes for small business, we can provide incentives, but how much of this might purely be a sentiment on the part of the American people, the uncertainty being not just whether we'll have a double-dip recession, but whether, as a government and a society, are we heading in the right or wrong direction? There seems to be a bigger malaise going on here in the last month or two.
Totally right. I mean, there is a sense and an expectation that taxes in the next budget are going to be tremendously high. People are bracing themselves for it. They're not investing until they really see what's going to happen, but we don't have a budget. So the administration hasn't delivered the budget on time, so another cloud of uncertainty. The regulatory uncertainty is there. So, you know, we need to give people a sense of clarity. Right. The perception is that everything is tactical. It's a lot of tactical maneuvering.
The administration delivered its budget proposal on time.
And people are tremendously confused.
Okay, here's what I want to say. Tax revenues, corporate tax revenues are way down. Personal income tax revenues are way down as a result of the recession. It's significant. Businesses are paying less taxes because there's less economic activity. Individuals are paying less taxes because there's less economic activity. If we say, let's cut taxes, reduce taxes, we've got to embrace the idea that we're going to have greater deficits unless you identify specifically spending in the federal budget that you want to connect. And here's the most important thing about confidence in the economy. Look at the decade we've had. 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, the subprime crisis, the recession, now this oil. All of those things cumulatively are affecting the confidence in the public. It's not just what's happening today.
Is it sapping, Bill George? Is it Mayor Morial hits on an awful lot of things. We've had a rough freaking decade here. I mean, and he's nailed it there. Is there something? Is this go to the heart of the American dream and we've used the phrase a couple of times, swagger?
I think yes.
Well, I don't think we lack
Bill George
confidence.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, I think this uncertainty is driving a great deal of caution on the business community, and we need to clarify that, as the Secretary has said. But I think going beyond that, we need to refocus our entire economy on investment. We've been trying for 10 years to get people to spend more. They paid a big price in 2008. We'll get the tax revenues up. I'll tell you, when business are earning more, we'll get the tax revenues up. When people are earning more, the tax revenues will come up. It's not about a higher percentage. It's about getting growth. And the growth is only going to come through the private sector. It's not going to come through the Census Bureau.
Right. Mark Morial.
It's not going to come through the Census Bureau.
Yeah. If I could, Mark, what do you say to the argument that in some ways maybe President Obama, who, you know, America fell in love with him and we believed in him, and yet he's kind of more technocratic than he is emotional. He's no Bill Clinton when it comes to really bonding with the people. Is President Obama need to get back in touch, more fireside chats?
He is who he is, and the question is whether you want a show horse or a workhorse. And I think President Obama is a workhorse, and I think he's delivered.
Oh, come on, man. He's a show horse. He's on TV three times a day. He's going to Paul McCartney concert.
The point is,
he's a show horse.
Yeah, but let's talk about what you want. You want someone that gets results, that passes legislation, that leads the nation, or do we want someone who's going to entertain us and make us feel good?
Maybe Clinton got great results.
I love Clinton.
I think it's unfair to sort of discount the huge number of issues that we face here, right? We have to do regulatory reform. Whether or not you agree with the solution on health care, everybody agrees health care is out there, Social Security is out there, massive deficits are out there. The number of issues that are out there to potentially undermine confidence, even if you even talk about doing something about them, let alone actually doing something about them, are monumental. We are living through incredibly historic times.
You know,
and Carlos, I'm afraid the tax cuts won't solve all of it.
Well,
some of it maybe.
But we can't increase the tax burden. And that's what's coming. We've increased the size of Washington, the size of the federal government, and the solution is to make taxpayers and businesses pay for it.
We have responded to a crisis, a meltdown of the banking industry. We've responded to the greatest recession.
Now it's time to step back.
Greatest recession since the Great Depression.
I know that.
You can't look at this in conventional terms. And I think we've got to recognize that we had to do extraordinary things because we face extraordinary problems.
Guys, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second, Secretary. We're going to take a quick break here.
All right.
Don't move. More discussion on the other side, right?
And we're going to talk about crisis response, among other things. And I know that's something that Bill George has written about, defending the American dream and more when we come back.